Ooh. Hello. Hey, and welcome to another episode of Game Audio Hour. This is episode 138 of the Game Audio Hour, a weekly podcast where we discuss all things game audio, from creative ideas to the latest techniques, project experiences to audio secrets. Here is where you'll find in depth coverage and opinions related to game audio. And it's going to be a duo of a show today. We've got
Absolutely.
Chase here. Hey, what's up?
How you doing? How's it going?
I'm doing great. It's Monday. I've got a little case of the Mondays. It's Mondays can go up and down, but my Monday it's not great. Not great.
The
Ugh.
mundane Mondays, as I call it, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's even worse when it's your fault that it's bad. So I'll just go ahead and uh, and mention it here because I think it is actually a little relevant. You know, so a
Okay.
lot of stuff that I've been doing is music and sound, of course, but then there's metadata. I do a lot of stuff with interactive music, and that means making sure that music is properly tagged. I have proper markers everywhere in order to get things working between the music playback system and the sound system. And I find out that the marker data that I'd actually put in there was all wrong. Not just for a few pieces, but for 12 pieces. All of this metadata is totally wrong. I can't figure out what I did in order to settle on these numbers that I put on there. So I basically had to go back to the original project files and figure out, okay, analyzing chords, noting metadata, inserting markers in SoundForge. Super frustrating. So not a great Monday for me, and it's actually probably going to continue on later into tonight. So
Ooh,
that's my day.
late day, huh?
Yeah. Hopefully you've got a better day.
Yeah, I just writing some piano music over here and just still getting some promotion and marketing things together for a project I just finished wrapping up. So
Wow.
keeping it copacetic as best as I can.
That sounds positively serene. Writing piano music. What kind of piano music are you writing right now?
Right now, writing just a ternary form. It changed. I started in like 4/4 around like 80 BPM. It's semi-classical. I've been playing a lot of Breath of the Wild, and so I've that score is mostly mostly piano and piano concerto, even along with some other instrumentation. But it brought me back to just listening to some just solo piano music, and I was listening to a cover by Chris O'Reilly that he did for Radiohead a while ago, and I think it just happened to just come through. I know how it happened. I was waking up Friday morning and I heard a small motif in my dream, and so I'm no longer outside of the studio. I could just roll out of bed into the piano, and so I just immediately recorded it on into the DAW and just started it. And then I was like, okay, I'll do chords later, and then I finished it pretty much today. So now I'm going to orchestrate it and arrange it and do the charts and whatnot.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. Man, I still have not properly played Zelda, but I mentioned that today was pretty bad. It's going to get better eventually because
Uh oh. Uh oh. Uh oh.
da-da-da-da.
Oh, dang! Yes.
Yes, I've got this thing, and I've got a couple of different games, including yep, I got
Oh,
it.
snap! Yes.
Finally, finally, finally. Yay! I got some stuff. So that's gonna
Wow.
be fun.
I'm playing on this bad boy right here.
Oh, nice, nice.
This is me late night till 4 in the morning from 12 to 4, just going straight into the world. It's been really therapeutic, I must say. Actually, it's been extreme. It's like another world. It's
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. Another world.
enjoy that. Make that Monday great with that switch.
All right. Yes, I'm going to make the switch. Yes.
Hey.
Okay. Okay. Enough of the bad puns. I'm not trying to take Kyle's position here. Um,
No, we're in good
man.
stead.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, man, a lot of stuff has been happening over the last over the last few weeks in game audio world. Although I did want to start with something that you had mentioned, because you were
Yes.
talking about Roland Cloud a while back, and it seemed like a pretty neat project. I remember hearing the rumblings about Roland Cloud as early as 2 years ago when veteran game composer Jeremy Soule was
Hmm.
talking about it on his personal social channels. Um, but Roland Cloud, have you got a chance to mess with it? Because I finally got into it. Finally.
I have not, because I'm a try before you buy guy, and I didn't at least hear any demos, and so they just have the subscription available to just give your money over. But so I was like, I don't really know if I'm buying a pig on a poke type of thing, but I think you might have took the risk, right?
Yeah, I
Recently.
did. Just yeah, it was really just a week ago. And I
Hmm.
finally decided, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna sign in. I went to rolandcloud.com, made an account, and they didn't even ask me for my payment information, which was nice. I thought maybe, excuse me, I thought maybe I'd have to give a credit card or something, but I just set up an account, and then they gave me access to all these things that I can download.
Huh.
So I'm just going on their website right now. They got the Ira, the Legendary series, the Terra series, Anthology, Flavor, and R Mix, which is kind of funny. um, and they're all basically, well, they're almost all remakes or software emulations of their various synthesizers over the years.
Okay.
So you got stuff like, Jupiter 8,
Right.
basically, a Roland JP. You have the software synthesizer SH101, the Juno 106 software synthesizer, the
Hey.
ProMar software synthesizer, the sound canvas. If you really want a sound, it's kind of funny. You got all these things: the ProMars, the Jupiter, the SH2, and then right on the bottom, sound canvas. If you really want that cheap consumer early 90s MIDI sound, because
Mm.
that's what it is. And
Right up
that's
my alley.
it's kind of funny. That's their legendary series. And then they have their anthology series, which I think are basically like, let's see, Anthology 1985, Ultra Deep Sampled Instrument, 2 volumes of Pure Bliss from 1985. Um, and I guess that's a Roland D series, I think. Is that what it is supposed to be?
I think so.
Yeah, they have the Roland Anthology 1985, and then the 1987, and then the 1990. Oh, no, no, no. That's the thing. That this was what was confusing me a bit, because the the anthology series, I think the 1990 is in fact their D series. But then you go back to the 1985, that's actually supposed to be like a JP synth, but it's a sampled JP style synth
Hmm.
compared to in their legendary series where they have an emulation of the hardware. And it's actually a little bit confusing. Why would I want to do one thing versus the other? And I guess because one is super CPU based and the other is super memory based, but I'm kind of confused why they would give us these two options there. It's kind of strange that.
Yeah, it seems like with just the website itself, it's not really cohesive in a way, and it's just not together. Just to kind of poke around and look for, trying to dig for what you're looking for. Most of the things are in the right place, but there are some things like you mentioned are just slightly a little bit confusing.
Yeah.
But even with, are you saying even with the subscription that you're having an issue like finding what like some kind of clarity between the instruments as well, even when you're logged in?
Um, well, I mean, it's not really a clarity thing. I kind of wish I knew how to use it.
Mm.
When you have a good instrument in front of you, I feel like the instrument is sort of subtly telling you either through the way it sounds or through the interface that it has. Hey, here, this is how you use me. This is what you should use me for.
Short of
And
reading the manual.
right. And to a certain extent, it actually does have that. Like I actually like the Legendary series. So like the Jupiter 8 sounds good. It looks a little complicated. Honestly, some of the knobs and dials are pretty small. They're pretty fiddly to deal with. I was trying to actually do it on my tablet. I thought, that precise with the pen in order to move things around. So that was actually kind of frustrating. But it actually sounds really good.
Hmm.
But then there are other things which I'm a little bit less clear on. So, excuse me. Like their legendary series and their anthology series. There's some things in their anthology series which are totally just sampling what's going on in their synthesizer series. So 1985 and anthology 1987, those are samples of their synthesizers, except it looks totally different. You know, hey, we're going to do this in a sort of rompler style format, and the controls are simple, but they're not really great. It's actually really it's it's actually kind of difficult to really manipulate the sound in the way that you want, which is kind of frustrating when you're dealing with what is supposed to be a synthesizer. Even though it is, yes, a sampled version of a synthesizer, that's kind of what I expect. I expect that sort of robustness to be able to edit and make changes. But you
Right.
don't really have that with the anthology series compared to the legendary series. So it's a little confusing, that the legendary series versus the anthology series. Um, Besides the classic Roland synths, there's also this Terra piano, which I was kind of interested in,
Yes.
mostly because it's called the Terra piano. It's hard; you can't name something that, if unless you are wanting to make an allusion to the old Nemesis Giga piano from,
Uh,
wow, 15, 20 years ago now. You know, that thing was cool. Hey, a gigabyte of samples for your piano. It's going to sound amazing, right? And it did sound amazing, the Giga piano. The Terra piano, I'm not sure. You know, it's not that great leap forward of that I want in terms of the sound of the piano or of the tech of the piano. And that's also kind of weird. And again, points to this divide between synthesized and sampled, because Roland actually makes a fantastic sounding piano, and that's their V piano series. You know, have you ever actually messed with their V piano hardware?
no, I haven't. I haven't had the opportunity.
Yeah, the V piano hardware is really cool, but they actually uh, they don't do samples with it. They do physical modeling for that. And that's really nice because it means you have a really robust instrument and you can do wacky things with it. Oh, you want a piano and you're going to change everything in order to make it just this really big pad wash of an instrument. All right, cool. Or I want this piano that's kind of like a Bosendorfer, but I'm going to shorten it a lot. But I'm also going to triple up all the strings across the whole range. You know, stuff like that. You can do stuff like that because it is a piano synthesizer at its heart. And then we've got Roland Cloud's piano, which is Terra piano, which is a sampled piano instrument and the opposite of robust. You don't really have a whole lot of control over the sound that it gives you. And that's kind of frustrating. I was kind of hoping that it would be something that you could control, and I really wanted that, especially when the initial sound that I got from the plugin didn't just wow me like
Mhm.
like I hoped, because hey, it's called Terra Piano. I want something that is 1,000 times better than the mere gigabyte sized pianos that I have at my disposal right now.
Seems like Terra is just not living up to its name right now. That's all.
Yeah, yeah,
Giga's
it's
still in business. It's not like we have, Terra. I mean, with Scorpio, we're having teraflops, but in terms of internet, we still have gigabits, so we don't have terabits yet.
yeah, it's true. I mean, the whole tech with Terra Piano is kind of interesting. You know, you've got a I mean, you don't have to install a terabyte worth of samples on your hard drive. You know, it's only a few gigabytes. But in order to do the full render of the piano, it relies on online sounds, and
Mhm.
there's also going to be a sort of not fully deterministic nature to the piano, slightly randomized. Things like, oh, sounds of keys or sounds of pedals. Um, the actual full dynamic range that you get is going to be slightly different because it's I guess more than your 127 velocities, and it's going to be doing a little bit of randomness for that noise. um, and I guess that's cool, but even beyond the sampling versus synthesized, there's also that non-deterministic thing, which kind of rubs me the wrong way when I'm dealing with music that I want to have control over. I'm not sure I want my piano to insert randomness for my render to sound significantly different from what I'm able to input live into my DAW when I'm tracking. I'm
Right.
not sure I want that.
Yeah. It's kind of unfortunate. You see yourself keeping the subscription until the end of the month?
I don't know. I mean, there's some things that I want to continue to mess with. I haven't tried all of the legendary synths, and there's a lot of them. Jupiter 8, 101, Juno 106, System 100, ProMars SH2. So that's 6 hardware synthesizer emulations that they've got right now. And that seems really cool. I would love to put them all through their paces. I'm also not including the sound canvas that they've got there because um, sound canvas does not sound great. I mean, it just doesn't. I mean, it's okay, but it certainly doesn't sound great compared to my Roland XV at home. Which is that's a professional Rompler from the mid '90s. It's got some really good sounds in there. Yes, it's not a software plugin, but that's why I have cables, right? Just plug it in with MIDI and TRS cables, and it sounds great. Sound Canvas, not so much, and I actually found it again not very easy to manipulate, especially compared to all the various MIDI software solutions that people have made, including third-party solutions for being able to manipulate the Roland JV and XV series. So I like that one better than the Roland Sound Canvas right now. I'm not sure about these other ones. There's the Flavor, the bite-sized bass house and beyond. They're ultra deep sampled bass instrument. I mean, that seems cool. It's not exactly my type of thing, so but it seems cool. They also have this thing called RMix, which is kind of funny. It's basically sort of a color-based spatial audio processing mixing thing that you can do.
Yeah.
So you could sort of splice and cut bits of music in your stereo panning in different ways. So, I want some of that audio here. Cut it out with a rectangle or a circle, and then just sort of grab that, then move it to another part of the spectrum. It's kind of cool, kind of cute. But I actually have a version of this from a few years back that again I thought was pretty cute, but not a really. It wasn't that interesting of a tool for me. So, I don't know. Rolling Cloud, maybe they'll have some other tools out there in the next few months though.
Yeah. I mean, it is in beta right now, so I guess you're in the beta phase before it goes full blown, but I think it's been out for a little while at least.
Yeah, it's not in the free beta. I'm still in the early access beta, and they're asking me to do $20 a month for that.
That's not too bad to get all of those things you mentioned.
Yeah, it's actually not too bad, but
you're not going to use all of it. That's the thing.
Yeah, I just don't know if I am going to use all of it. I'm probably not going to use the piano. I just have too many other piano options right now. The synthesizers are definitely cool, and I do appreciate that being able to save all of my presets will be really nice compared to having to deal with the hardware for the JP.
Yeah.
But
for you.
Yeah.
So there's a new project out, just generally speaking, and there's an indie game that's focusing on 80s style music. Would you recommend subscribing to the Roland Cloud to achieve this sound?
Man.
They're looking for something like Blade Runner or something like that too.
Oof. I mean, that is so tough.
Yeah.
mean, there's so many things that are out there for the 80s sound. You know, if you want a good Roland Rompler, for example, I mean, there's so many different Romplers out there. If you want that, you know, getting something like a Roland or an Emu or a
Mm.
Korg, those things are really cheap. And by cheap, I mean, okay, less than $50 will get you something from the late 80s, early 90s, and you can find a patch list for it so that you can plug it right into your DAW and then just do all your proper bank and patch changes right away, and then make a good project without much fuss. If you want to have synthesizers, there are a whole lot of people that have done FM synths that sound really good. If you want to do the analog synth route, well, you know, these Roland synths are actually really good. They do sound really good. But there are also other emulations that are out there of that. And there are other people that have done samples based on those synthesizers
Right.
more effectively than actually Roland's version of these sampled versions of their synthesizers. So it's tough. I think it's a pretty tough value proposition right now. If you're a really big Roland head and you want to get these super authentic, you know, their big thing is, hey, perfect ACB recreation of these original legendary Roland synthesizers. And what is ACB? Analog circuit behavior modeling. That sounds cool. I mean, I guess that means it's just wow, that, you know, that perfect in terms of emulating what's going on underneath the skin of these synths. Actually, one of these bullet points, up to 8 voices of polyphony based on computer power for the Jupiter 8 synth.
That's
And
pretty
that
cool.
doesn't sound like a lot.
No, but
But
get fat real fast.
yeah, it's you know, so you're going to be having to bounce tracks left and right in order if you're going to want something really big and thick.
Mm.
But you know, I mean, this could be cool because the synthesizers are really good. Quite honestly, Roland, if you offered some of these synthesizers as the one-off purchases, uh, I would do that. I think that would be really fun. I would really appreciate that.
Yes, me too.
Yeah. And I guess one thing is making me think, oh, that could be cool. In the fact, they actually allude to being able to pick up instruments. So there's like a bullet point with the forthcoming Roland Cloud loyalty program. You'll be able to pick instruments and tools that you will have access to forever, regardless of your subscription status.
That's what I was interested in, because I could just see it right now. I'm in a project, and like you, Vince, you have to recall things like you were doing today. And you know, who knows? I don't know the timeline of when you made your last project, but for me, sometimes it'd be 2 or 3 years, and we update, you know, frequently from our software. And if our subscription has lapsed, it's the whole, well, we can't load this instrument, and it's like the main lead or melody or something that, or the main sound itself that really glued the track together. And then you're like, "Ah, I gotta pay the subscription and do this and get that." And it's just more of an arduous process than it needs to be, rather than if you just owned it and had it already, and then you could just, okay, I just gotta find it, put it together, and you know, voila, it's opening without
Yeah.
any problems.
Yeah, agreed. It's really nice to be able to not have to worry about
Yeah, but
that.
AI doesn't have a problem with that stuff, does it?
Ugh. Wow. Yeah. Well, you know, one thing that I don't have a problem with is I don't have to think too much about Isotope RX
That's
or
true.
any of the other Isotope programs. I remember for a while I was just sitting on Isotope RX4. You know, even though I knew that I was kind of behind the times, even as they did RX5. But hey, RX4, it worked. It was great. It was well engineered software. It had all the audio features that I needed to do. It was. You know, and Isotope didn't bug me about that. So I was super happy about that. They make a whole lot of interesting pieces of software that I enjoy, and I don't have to worry that much about that whole subscription thing that seems like a lot of people are turning to. Although if Isotope does turn to subscription, I wonder, am I actually going to keep on? You know, maybe I will, because Isotope has been really good to me. I mean, I would seriously think about it. because Isotope has been seriously very good to me over the last few years. So
It's kind of like once you bite the fruit, you are pretty much a victim, and you have to just keep going with it. I don't think we could ever leave Isotope with the phenomenal tools that they make.
maybe, but also it's not just on our end, but also on the company end. Last week I was talking a little bit about my travails with Cakewalk. And I remember Cakewalk was experimenting with the subscription model. And then actually in the last year, they totally simplified the model. It's no longer a subscription model. It's actually very clear. It's about, okay, if you pay, you fully own the software. And well, it's going to be part of the support access that you have. So you have support access tiers. But beyond that, you pay, you have access to the software. If you're always going to maintain access to the software.
Right.
So that's actually kind of nice to see a company that, dipped their toes into the subscription model, and then they totally did an about face and, hey, let's simplify it. People want to own their software. Okay, guess what? You can keep your software. That's cool. So, it's an interesting world out there. It's actually not totally decided about, hey, subscription models are the way to go for everything.
Yes, thankfully.
And I wonder if people are going to keep on trying to innovate on that. I can't help but think that they will. Maybe in a year or two, we'll find out some other way that companies are going to get us. I wonder what that's going to be.
Until then, please keep it DRM free.
DRM free, yes, I like that. Ooh. Oh man, what else in terms of software? Because Dehumanizer.
Hey.
You know about Dehumanizer?
Yes, I'm very familiar with those guys. They're amazing. I should be wearing my Dehumanizers T-shirt.
You do have a T-shirt. Yeah,
I have like a few.
Yeah, they've been around. Obviously they do stuff for, they make the Dehumanizer software, and that was used for a whole lot of things. But also, great for games. And now it's going to be a little bit better because they just released a demo on YouTube showing their Dehumanizer Live plugin working in Fmod. So in your Fmod project, let's get some raw dialogue files, and then you have Dehumanizer Live running as a plugin. It's going to process those things in real time to make it so that your monster in game sounds like a monster instead of that dude in the VO booth.
I watched the video. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, it's it's pretty cool. The obvious thing with this is that once someone designs the Dehumanizer Live settings, then you can go over to Japan and record the Japanese dialogue, and it will be processed into a Japanese version of this same monster. And the same thing for your French recording and your Spanish recording. That's kind of cool. I still feel a little bit weird about it right now, though. As much as I like Dehumanizer, because I do actually use it, I still have it on my tablet. Actually, I don't really use Dehumanizer on my desktop because I feel like, when I was messing around with Dehumanizer, it's like, okay, there's a whole lot of tools that comprise the Dehumanizer suite, and many of those tools are actually individual tools that I have in, as either VST plugins that I can use in Sonar, or things that I'll use as scripts in SoundForge and whatnot. And I'll go that route if I need to do a particular monster processing. But if I'm on the go and I need something that just works in order to get me right at the point, the sound quality that I want, with when I don't necessarily have my full rig, my full kit at hand, Dehumanizer on my tablet works really great. So I don't know, I've got Dehumanizer Live now staring at me from an Fmod project. And I gotta admit, I feel a little bit weird about this. I'm actually kind of scared about, I do want to hand off these things, and I'm going to create this thing that's going to be responsible for the quality of sound that results after things are processed that I don't necessarily have control over. Like said French or Spanish or Russian voiceover recording that's going to happen 6 months after I've left the project.
Hmm.
And I feel a little weird about that. Not totally, because it really is such a cool thing to see happening. I do feel a little weird. What do you think?
I don't know. My last experience with Humanizer was when they had the standalone, and this was even before they. I mean, this is probably 2 or 3 years ago when they just recently made it available to working as a VST in your DAW. So
Oh yeah.
they're really ramping up, and to have it, be in Fmod right now is actually just huge. And I can see how that could actually be really, really helpful. A lot of people have mobile rigs, you like using your tablet, and other people who have like really powerful MacBooks and whatnot are able to just, bang out some VO work, right there on the spot and go forward. But I can understand your precautionary feelings about it as well. It does make a lot of sense.
Yeah, but it's such cool technology though. I do wonder. I think one thing it makes me wonder though is once people realize, hey, Dehumanizer Live, that's great. That's another thing that we don't necessarily need a real sound designer to actually do. I'm sure that any game designer can mess around with this plugin in Fmod and then throw it into their Unity project and everything's going to work out. What other things are going to happen on the audio middleware plugin front? I mean, you could easily go with the, you know, um, I don't know. Let's say there's a UI synth. Let's make a virtual UI synth designer that's going to handle all of your basic UI needs, and then you're going to have um, a plugin procedural uh, shooting sound designer, and then other things, and then I don't know. I'm just imagining this sort of very slippery slope into a world where us sound designers are really not needed, are we?
I don't know. I still think, no offense to programmers, but they do say themselves that they're lazy. So I just, I've heard it from their mouths. Multiple programmers say that. So, and it's funny because I notice, like I've seen for posts and whatnot, they say, oh, I want to do the programming, I'll do the graphics, I'll do the UI, I'll do everything else, but I just don't want to deal with sound. I probably would like to just hire someone. And sound designers really much do have the leg up with work over music, actually, as a music composer. So sound designers are still in demand, thankfully, because the music side of it is sliding, yes, but the sound design is still strong. So we still have our jobs.
Yeah, the music side is sliding. Did you see that? What was it? Was it Iva? Yeah, it was
Oh,
Iva. Did you see that? The AI music composer. Um,
yes, I did.
yeah, if you go to this site, iva.ai, and you'll see this landing page for the artificial intelligence who composes emotional soundtrack music. And I am the world's first virtual artist, recognized by an authors' rights society, and just links to various pieces of music that sound, I guess, sort of neoclassical-ish stuff. But hey, it's music. If you told me someone wrote this music, I'd be like, oh, okay, someone wrote this music. That's cool. But this is an AI that's done it. I'm a
I
little
don't
bit
know.
worried
I'm a
about
little skeptical. I didn't see the AI do it. It could just be someone posing as it, like the Vocaloid.
that.
I
Yeah, I mean,
mean, it's
Vocaloid is different though. I mean, Vocaloid is, it's software that needs to be authored in order to do something. You can't, but
but
an
it has a
AI.
persona that doesn't exist, like a human form. You know what I mean? Like, so right now, that's just with the AI. It's just, I don't know that you talked about this before. As someone had created a software at a university that kind of composed its own music. I can't remember. The name escapes me,
Well,
but you
I mean,
mentioned it before.
yeah, that's happened over many decades. So the first thing that's coming to mind is David Cope back in the 80s and 90s.
Mm.
And then Sid Meier actually got into the game with CPU Bach, just making it was a piece of software for the 3DO where it would just make Bach-like pieces, and it didn't really sound much like Bach. It just sounded like, oh, hey, I'm playing around at these particular techniques that were used throughout the Baroque era. Hey, there's counterpoint and stretto and pedal points, and what can we do in terms of convolution of these themes and fun stuff. And it's surprisingly good. This was back in the 80s and 90s that was happening. Excuse me. And I don't know. There's actually part of me that is worried about it, becoming a much bigger thing now. And then there's another part of me that is amazed that AI has just not taken over yet. I think it is actually kind of fascinating with this IVA thing. It does say the second bullet point. World's first virtual artist recognized by an authors' rights society. Okay, that's cool.
What does that mean?
I mean, I guess
right? What does that mean?
I mean, Iva can. I guess he can collect. I say he, but it can collect royalties. I mean, you gotta. This is a thing that needs to be properly licensed. That's kind of funky.
And do what with those royalties? Like, it just doesn't make buy bitcoins or just buy more Rolling Cloud subscriptions to make better music. I don't know what I was doing over there. I'm personally not threatened. I hope you're not either. I'm impressed. Well, I would be impressed if we just gave it some, like we said, Iva, please compose X, Y, and Z music. I'd like some romantic music in this style, in this meter, in this form. Do this, this, and this using these intervals for this duration of time, and then you watch it work. Okay, I'll be impressed. I'll be impressed. I will be threatened because, especially if it sounds good, and if it's mixing it itself. Okay, now we're in territory of being scared because our production jobs are on the line too. So if it's using like Neuron or all these other mixed tips and tricks, and it's just coming out superb.
Well, that's the thing. You're talking about these production tricks and tips. People have already started compiling them. You already have things like these online music mastering services, and it's not a person that is going to be working on every single project in that loving sort of handcrafted way. Okay, I'm looking at all these things and I'm trying to make some artistic and coherent decisions about them as I feel as a person relating to this piece of music. It's going through an algorithm that is going to be analyzing the music, figuring out, it's this BPM, it's this part of the audio spectrum. I'm going to be doing this with compression, this with EQ. There's so much stuff that's automated now. Full automation is inevitable, right?
Right. This is true. But it's not taking over. We still have our jobs.
Right. Judgment Day has not happened yet.
I will be calling John Connor early.
Oh, man. Let's see. What else? Maybe there's a lighter topic that we can talk about right now instead of having to, think about stuff. Oh, well, hold on. First of all, some of the chat guys have actually some responses to that. Don't know if Lander, etc., have an algorithm that's all that good. I actually messed around with Lander because I found out recently that if you are a member of ASCAP, you actually do have some access to a little bit more than you would if you were just a standard non-paying member of Lander. So you can get some free full quality masters as well as more compressed masters compared to if you were a standard non-paying member. They do sound okay. I guess I would put it on the level of okay. It tends to, compress a little heavily, and it sounds okay. And Michael Hoffman says something similar. Yeah, the online mastering algorithms tend to over compress the tracks. And yeah, I agree. But they're doing something. I think one thing that I've learned over the years is that whether something is good or bad or not is different from whether that thing is actually out there. What have people gotten used to over the years? I think people are actually getting used to music that is worse rather than better. Not just in terms of composition, but also in terms of production. You know, uh, I mean, hey, we know that we survived. We didn't survive the loudness war. It's kind of like the Vietnam War. It's never really stopped. You know, um, the
Yeah.
loud, the the not, I was going to make an allusion to the Korean War, but whatever. But yeah, the loudness war, right? That whole thing of we're going to compress the heck because now that we can do that with our CDs, everything's going to be super loud. It's going to be awesome. Yeah, we haven't really gotten out of that. People have actually suffered the effects of that. People want things to be loud. Um, if I'm working with a developer and they're asking, what can I do in order to make this thing sound better? Okay, well, I think that these bits and pieces of design and process will make things sound better. And they say, well, oh no, can you really make it sound better? And it turns out what they really mean is, can you make it sound louder? And okay, maybe I will go ahead and make it sound louder, or I will go to them and say, well, I don't want it to sound louder right now because we're way too early in the production of this game. And we know that there are other things for features that haven't developed, that have not been developed, that need to be in there and are potentially part of the audio mix that we need to account for, which is why we're going to keep things at a level that where we know other things can enter in and be complementary and all that stuff. But still, they want things to sound better / louder. So it's tough. It's a fun time to work as an audio music guy. And I guess the way that I react to it is looking over my shoulder, and not just other people, but now AI and online services that can do many of the things that I can do with some modicum of ability. And I wouldn't say that I'm the best mixing, mastering artist out there. I like to think that I'm a pretty decent composer, but oh man, maybe this online guy is going to take over my mixing. Maybe this AI is going to take over my mastering. Maybe another AI that's living somewhere on Amazon Web Services is eventually going to take over my composition gig.
The conspiracies are deep over here. They're just these are cognizant ideas. These are, and I'm totally with you. But they just make me feel like it's happening now, and I don't realize, like, it's just staring me in the face, and I'm over here just being optimistic as possible. But you're bringing the facts, Vince, and I can't help but concur with you.
Well, yeah, I think there is plenty of reason to be optimistic, mostly because stuff right now doesn't sound good. And hopefully people actually recognize the value of people making these good decisions, of having a real artist being artistic with all of these things that are happening in the composition world, in the mixing world, in the implementation world, and in the sound design world. And there's so many places where one can really exercise their craft. And the AIs, they're going through a process. They're not really exercising artistry yet.
Absolutely.
But at what point will it be good enough that people are like, yeah, this process that you got, that's a real artistic process that you got there. Bach, J.S. Bach, Johann Sebastian Bach, he never really thought of himself as a great composer. We look at him now and say, man, that dude was one of the greatest composers that has ever lived in the history of the world. That's not a far-flung statement. A lot of people would say, yes, one of the truly great composers. And Bach would look at himself and say, well, no, I'm just an organist. He considered himself as, I'm just this dude that plays the organ at this church. And he's really good at the processes that were part of the standard parlance of performance in the Baroque era. He understood all those things that you do as an improviser, as a performer on a keyboard instrument, in order to make, a prelude and fugue, in order to make a gigue or a courant, because you can just codify those things. This is what you do in order to enact counterpoint. Hey, I'm going to flip this theme around in order to do this. I have all these processes in my brain, and I'm going to make them work all the way to my fingers, not just for performing on the organ, but also for writing pieces in order to teach all of my kids. So, Bach himself considered himself just this vessel of all these processes that he absorbed over the years. And
True.
isn't that what all our AI is? That's what's going to happen in the next decade, maybe? That's what I'm always worried about.
We'll see. I mean, I think people still appreciate humanism, and for example, like us presenting our demos for production as mock-ups, which is samples only, versus we're hiring a few musicians and adding some live instruments in there for a realistic approach, all live or hybrid approach. And the developers that me and a couple other friends have worked with, and they've pitched their live demos, are very impressed, and they prefer the live demos more, and then they end up shelling out some of the money to hire more and have that sound because they appreciate it more. And hopefully there is a balance and people still appreciate live players. And with the same thing goes with AI music, they'll appreciate real living flesh composers as opposed to the digital composers that just write robotic music for now.
We'll see. I'm going to stick with the side of my brain that's hopeful, because that's how I can continue to live, I guess. As opposed to break out the scotch. But oh, wow. Yeah, man, Kyle, I'm actually thinking about that. Kyle is on vacation right now.
Yes.
He's in Scotland. He's getting the real scotch. He's getting Highland scotches and Islay scotches and all the scotches.
And the wonderful hotel of the castle.
Gosh, that castle of a hotel, man, that place is ridiculous.
Hi, Kyle from America. We miss you. We're thinking about you and your and your lovely scotch.
Yeah, you better be enjoying yourself. Hopefully you and your family are having a really fun time over there.
Absolutely.
And Michael is he's just working. Cool to see him so busy working, because he's working on all these cool stuff like new pieces and musicals and all that.
Yes.
But oh man, come on, Michael. I want you to get back on the show so we could talk about some other things. Not that we're missing stuff to talk about, but I know that, Michael, you had a few things that you really want to talk about, and we're saving those subjects for when you get back.
Yes. So, like good friends. Yeah. we have them ready for you when you return.
Yes, it will be fun. Well, let's see. We actually have a few more things. Oh, the Wooger. You're bringing up the Wooger. Tell me about the Wooger.
So the Wooger is this product that was kickstarted, and it's designed to actually help you, like, designed to be made to feel the sound, it says. And so you put this little like tiny pack on, just like maybe the size of like a pager, it seems, and you hook it up and you plug it into your earphones, and supposedly you can feel the acoustic hotspots among your body within your chest or your lower back, I guess, depending on where you wear it. And so when you're playing the game through the mix, or if you're listening to music, you're going to feel the vibrations of the sound that is supposed to be occurring. So if you have a lot of low end that's happening around say 80 to 20 hertz and below, obviously nothing lower than that, you should be able to feel these vibrations of sound coming through your body as well as audibly. And it's actually pretty cool. I'm thinking about some techniques about mixing so that you're not totally giving the person cardiac arrest when they're wearing it because your bass was too much. But I'm guessing that you can actually control it with the volume amount that you can adjust or so.
Yeah, this seems pretty cool. It's kind of funny. This is supposed to be exactly not audio, because it is physical. It's so much of that subsonic, below the audible spectrum.
Right.
It's kind of cool because it's this, I guess, even though it's an addition, could be a little bit more authentic to what a lot of people design for, especially in the movie theater experience, where you don't have a subwoofer, you have an LFE. have that low frequency emitter that's made to be felt, and you have those big drivers in the movie theater that are able to move air, not just
Right.
create waveforms, but move air. That's what hits you in the chest. And this could actually be really cool. I'm looking at this. I've never had the opportunity to try this.
Yeah, it says it was
I'd
at
love to.
GDC.
Oh,
Well,
it was?
yeah,
Oh,
I think
man.
it was. I just can't remember if it was this year or last year. But I totally missed it. Probably at the expo floor, I believe. But I know that they said here, where is it? It's at someone who I think StarCraft national champion Netacorum. As a gamer, I want to live the game I'm playing. Woojer gives an extra sensory experience that enables me to do so. So they're playing StarCraft 2 and wearing this while they're competing. And that's pretty intense. If you're competing and wearing this, wow. I mean, I'm actually really curious. I would love to try out a few. I'm not sure what game I would choose, but I would love to try out and see what this is. I'm looking at the realization of the final design. It says they have a transducer, the on-off switch, headset output, mini USB charge port, so it has to be charged. That's cool. The audio input, a Lion battery, and a level switch.
Yeah, it's cool. I'm looking at this thing and it seems like it connects via analog audio cables,
Mm-hmm.
which is cool, but I'm actually wondering why they don't have an HDMI option. Because, I'm thinking about the LFE. If you're doing with the audio cable, you're dealing with just all of your audio signals, just mixed together. And
Yeah,
then you're just going to do a low pass filter on that before it hits the transducers on your chest. But if you were dealing with HDMI or some other digital audio format, and you can just deal with that point 0.1 channel audio, or not audio because it's supposed to be your 0.1 LFE, and just feed that in there. Yeah, but I guess that for consumer surround sound, most times that 0.1 is in fact going to be an audio channel as opposed to that LFE that is ideally presented within a movie theater space. So
true, because it's attached to you and not necessarily things around you of your space. So that's a good point. Maybe they didn't have enough. Maybe they didn't design it with that in mind. Maybe they'll do the second iteration with that.
maybe I could also see it being a licensing thing. If you're going to be dealing with anything, or I want the LFE part of the Dolby Digital or the DTS audio stream.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you actually have to pay a licensing fee to those guys.
Yeah, who knows how much that's going to cost?
Yeah, who knows? I mean, other companies have actually gotten away with not doing Dolby Digital or DTS. Sony, Microsoft, when they put out a console, it has to support those things.
Yeah,
Nintendo, they never support those things. It's like it supports surround sound, but not if you only are able to do Dolby Digital, which I know really frustrated a lot of people. So, luckily, I don't know. Luckily, I had to shell out money for a new surround sound system that can do 5.1 linear uncompressed PCM as opposed to Dolby Digital streams. But yay, I could play how many games on my Wii U in full surround sound? I can't remember. Maybe 3, 4. I didn't play that many Wii U games, so I'll just say that.
don't feel bad. The only Wii U game I've played this much is the Breath of the Wild. So, but not to say that that doesn't have a good library. I just didn't get one until the opportunity came. My friend had one at his job and it was laying around, so he took it because no one was using it.
Yeah. Bob Till You Flop actually mentions, Dolby 5.1 stuff is kind of horrible, like MP2 compression on the fly and patent minefield horrible. Dolby Digital has been around for a while.
Wow.
It is true. It is an aging thing now. And I am glad that you can get good uncompressed surround sound now. Hey, with my Sony and Microsoft systems, I'm going to do 5.1 linear PCM all the time because it just sounds that much better.
Yes.
Super happy about that. Well,
Yes, indeed.
I mean, I don't know. With my Switch, though, I guess I'm going to be hearing it out of these super little speakers that come out of here, as opposed to my nice living room surround sound system.
Yep, you can get that Wooger 2 Ghost 1 and have a good time.
Yeah, now that actually sounds pretty good. Woocher plus that seems to make a lot of sense compared to being in the living room. It's like, well, I got a subwoofer here. I mean, that should be enough. But with the Switch, maybe augmenting it with the Woocher, that seems like it makes some sense.
Yes, I'm actually really curious now to really get my hands on one of these this year and hopefully try it out and report to the show sometime. It's not that bad either. I guess this Extreme Kit is all gone for $99, but $83 and $95 get you that with a T-shirt. The early bird's all gone, of course. But yeah, oh, here at the bottom it said GDC 13, GDC Next 13. I was there. I don't remember them. The ADC. This is their last. I think that was their last GDC Next before they went. Yep, I remember the show. I was there. I didn't see them.
Oh, yeah. And if you want to go all the way for the vest, you have to pay. It looks like $350.
Ooh, yeah. And they have some competition, I know, with the vests, the sub pack one that you actually wear it like a backpack for that one. So.
Oh man, over on the chat room, maybe they should just make a pair of headphones with a piece that connects to your jaw and injects low frequency woofers from there.
Oh boy, goodness.
That sounds so exciting. I'm really looking forward to my cavity fillings just falling out from all the shaking.
As if going to the dentist wasn't enough to feel that.
Oh man. I mean, maybe that, I don't know. I'm actually a little worried about that. I know too many people who have mentioned that they've had fillings actually fall out. And
really?
I know it shouldn't happen that many times. Just the people that I know. Ugh. So I'm actually really scared to death of something like that. I hear it's just a really painful experience if a cavity filling falls out. It's like, oh man, that access.
Must be because of the new material that I heard about. I guess they're not using the same material as they used to before, from the times they were actually filling those fillings.
Yeah, that might be the case. I mean, I had some fillings when I was a child, and they were all those metal fillings. And I guess now it's got to use some like some sort of ceramic or some polymer that doesn't make it obvious that you've got a cavity.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I just brush my teeth as best I can. Hey, brush your teeth twice a day.
And floss. That's important.
Flossing. Yep, flossing is really important.
Here we are talking about that.
No, it's totally audio related. It's going to lead into a fun discussion next week where we are going to talk about ASMR. And I don't know.
Oh, goodness.
No, actually, we're going to have a really fun discussion next week because I think the whole gang is going to be back. And hopefully, I know Kyle's going to be back. I know Michael might be back. And I think we might have a guest too.
Yeah, special guests coming up.
Yeah. We will announce it here before it happens. We'll announce it on places like our Facebook and our Twitter. It's going to be fun. And hopefully you guys can join us then as you did this week. We're always thankful to have you guys chatting with us and the opportunity to talk with you guys every week about random stuff, about game audio, even if I am sometimes a downer. So, thank you.
You're not. You're good. You're just stating the facts. And the facts, some people just can't handle it.
You can't handle the truth. Oh man,
we appreciate you all for watching and tuning in.
Yeah. All right. I think that's been an hour. Time to call it a night.
Yes.
All right.
I'll see you next week.
Next week, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and look forward to more fun stuff happening on the Game Audio Hour next week. I'll see you guys later. Bye.
Bye.